Conversations with Iris. Here's your host, my loving wife, Iris.
Hola, mi gente bonita. Hello, beautiful people, beautiful souls, beautiful individuals. You're just beautiful all the way around. Welcome back to Conversations with Iris, the little podcast that could. We're only continuing to grow and glowing. And I love bringing you guys these wonderful conversations, as I like to say, with pizzazz, sazon, love, and all that good stuff, all the good vibes, and bring you voices that just truly matter. And this space where we just don't have conversations. We create moments, okay? We create the vibe, the setting, and we raise awareness. And we have wonderful individuals out here that are doing great things. And I feel like these moments that just challenge us and just having conversations that just make you think about you, how we lead, how we love, and how we show up in the world, which can make a difference. One conversation could just change you, an epiphany, or whatever you're going through. You never know, right? Anything could happen. And let me tell you guys about today's conversation. I feel like today's conversation is one of those that might just shift your perspective just a little tad bit. And this is not just about business, but it's about humanity. Yes, it's about humanity. That little part of it that gets lost when we're so business driven. Today, we're going to be talking about the growth, the purpose, the impact. I'm even going to say the population that often gets even overlooked. So definitely get comfortable, because this one, I feel like it's going to resonate with a lot of our audience members here, or with you personally. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with someone who is not only a strategist, but a visionary with a whole bunch of heart, which is what I love about it. Mariam Parineh is a business development and a marketing strategist who believes in doing business differently, just through alignment, purpose, and real impact. I mean, I love how she does things with a lot of love, and she just adds a little bit of sparkle to that. I mean, from launching her first company in Malaysia, yes, you heard that, and successfully to building multiple ventures and guiding organizations through growth, transformation across the US and Malaysia, okay? But what truly sets her apart is what she's building right now as the founder of Viva Velva. How do I say it? Viva Valet. She's one of the most extraordinary, and her mission, her purpose is to redefine how we view and support aging, just creating a lifestyle of concierge services designed to help seniors live the most supported lives at home. That's that little population I was talking about that often gets overlooked. So her work is about more than just a business, it's about a legacy, and making sure that those elders out there are just never forgotten. Without further ado, please help me welcome Mariam to Conversations with Iris. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this talk.
Oh, I'm excited too. And I love what you're doing out there. And for those that are tuning in and listening, Mariam is actually tuning in from Malaysia herself.
I am.
Oh my goodness. It is like morning time for her, and it's like nighttime over here. So poor thing, but it's exciting. How do you like that time of change living out there?
I've been here for 25 years, actually. So
Wow.
I came out here looking for a little family. I grew up in California. I was born in Iran, um, and I stayed. I love it out here, actually. And so now I'm married out here. My kids are out here, but my family's between California and Iran. And I've got businesses here and in the US.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. And I love what you're doing. And I think like before we even get into everything, I want to just start out with something different, because I love the vibe, your energy, and I just feel like this is going to be a great conversation overall. But what would you do when somebody meets you? Like the first 5 minutes, what would you want them to know about Mariam? What do you want them to know? Just behind your accolades, behind the business driven lady, what would you want them to know the first 5 minutes when they met you?
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm a hugger. So
Me
that's the
too.
first 2 seconds. That's the first 2 seconds. But I think I like when I'm meeting people in a context of achievement and what have you done? I like to let everybody know that I'm still figuring it out. And that's what it always sort of feels like. Doesn't matter if I'm the executive vice chairman of a publicly traded company in Malaysia, or have this venture that I'm passionate about in the United States for elders, or building my first stone cleaning company in Malaysia. It always feels the same. And it never feels like you totally have a handle on it. But what I've learned is that means I'm doing it right. That no longer means that I don't know what I'm doing clearly. It just means that I'm figuring it out.
And I like that. It's just, you're just simply human too. Just, fully transparent and you're just human. And I love that you're a hugger too. I mean, a hug goes a long way. Yes. Oh my goodness. So tell us, for our listeners, who is Mariam? You had mentioned that you lived in California. Now you're in Malaysia for a couple years. But just tell us a little bit about you and how did you get into business and ventures and traveling and all that stuff? Tell us a little bit about who you are, Mariam.
Sure. I think a nomad a little bit, right? I don't like to sit in comfort. I feel like if I'm so comfortable, then I'm not growing. And so anytime something got just a little too complacent, I explored, whether that's exploring a new business, whether it's exploring a new country and just moving. I've never run from fear. I feel like I walk into it. And that's where my probably my greatest gift of bravery and certainty in myself lives. So I went from I was in Iran, migrated during the 79 revolution, which is politically relevant now, but has been irrelevant for a long time.
Yeah.
And grew up with my mother and sisters in California and a stepfather. And then moved to Malaysia when I was 22, looking to get to know my father, who had been living here from Iran. And spent the last 25 years here building ventures, built a few companies, sold a few companies, then fell in love and stayed. And now I still run businesses here. But what I've learned being married to somebody 46 years older than me is a lot about aging, a lot
Mm.
about care. And in my earlier years, I spent a lot of times with multiple sets of grandparents. And I realized that has informed how I see the world. I see the world through a lens of somebody that's 85 or 90. And I've never seen it through the lens of somebody who's been 20 or 25 or 30 or 40 or 45 or now 50. And I think that has really shaped who I am.
Wow. And I love that. I love how you basically, you're Iran and then from California to Malaysia. Then you build this, wonderful business ventures out there. That's just amazing to me. Did anybody come with you or was this just like a solo decision that you were like, you know what? I love Malaysia and I'm going to stay here?
Solo.
Oh, wow. So you just went for it. That's amazing. That's brave. That's girl power.
And then a man who was 75 when I was 30 asked to marry me. And I was like, all right, let's do this. And here we are.
Take a chance. Take a chance, right?
Yeah, just say yes. And, yeah,
Wow, I love that. It seems like you like live in like the moment. You just go for it, which I think, represents of how many great leaders we have out there, people that are just willing to just go for it. I just love that. Let me ask you, Mariam, what initially was the one thing that pushed you into that entrepreneurship? And what did that, like those early teaching days teach you?
that's a great question. I think when I was in high school, I realized that I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I had a knack to see things from a bird's eye view. I could see how multiple, whether it was resources or needs, could be met if you could just align the pieces properly. I knew I had that skill. When I came out to Malaysia, I did not come out here job purposed, right? I had great job offers in the US, but I had this nagging feeling that if I took this corporate job, right, that I was getting on a train I couldn't get off. So I decided I can always come back to safety, right? I
Yeah.
can always come back and get a job. I wanted to build and I wanted to really see what I was made of. And when I came out to Malaysia, it's not easy. You can't get hired so easily. I didn't come out here to work. So I built a venture. My father, suggested a few things. I trusted in what he said. I would not do that today. Um, I ended up in a stone care business and realized that he didn't have all the things that he promised, quite frankly. Um, but I decided, hey, you just pumped the only $40,000 you had into this. You're going to do this for this. You're going to be the stone girl for the next 2 to 3 years. That's it. You can't make a
Wow.
decision to quit until you've given this 3 solid years. And that was the decision I made crying on a rooftop. And it was probably one of the best decisions I made in myself.
Mm. And you mentioned something that kind of like just triggered my brain. You mentioned that it's very hard to find a job there in Malaysia. Is it still like that? I mean, we're talking a couple years ago when you first came, but is it still like that?
I would say what's hard is not the getting of the job. What's hard in international movement is getting the permission to work in a foreign country.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't come here with that lens. So I came on a tourist visa, right? So in Malaysia at the time, I think you could stay here as a US citizen for 90 days and then you'd have to leave and come back. So there was a couple of years of that, run to Singapore, come back. But when you build your own company, it's you have the permission to stay. So there's that as well. And again, I didn't come all the way out here to be employed by somebody to earn 30 cents on the dollar of what I could earn in the US. So I still knew that wasn't the play for me. It wasn't
Mm.
just about income. And it still isn't, if I'm being honest. It's not just about income for me. What am I doing with my life? I'm a contributor. What am I contributing? And I feel that I'm very privileged that I have that stance, that I have that perspective. And I feel I came into the world with it. I know we're not going to get into spirituality in the universe in 30 minutes, but I know some people struggle with that. It's not a struggle I've had. It's been
Wow.
very loud inside of me.
Mm. And it's more like just not just being a contributor, you wanted to make a difference. That's
Correct.
what it sounds like. You wanted to be like, you, not just to stand out, make more money. I need to make a difference. I need to figure something out here. I mean, that's the vibe that I'm getting or the calling. And let me ask you, like being in Malaysia and then the United States, I mean, different cultures, different countries. How did that influence you, like your approach in business and leadership?
Oh, it makes you more observant. It makes you more compassionate. It makes you more human centric. It takes, it takes about 2 years to shed yourself of what you didn't realize is the American ego. Okay. And to realize that actually the American way is just that. It's the American way. And there's a Malaysian way and there's an Indonesian way. And everybody's other country's purpose is not to become America or do
Yeah.
the American way, even though there's a lot of fantasizing about things America has, the democracy, the access to venture, the American dream of the 80s and the 90s, I would say in the early 2000s, right? But that doesn't mean that there aren't extraordinary inherent things in other countries that deserve to be preserved and valued and harnessed. So in Malaysia, you have what's called you're a developing country. But even at its most basic form, you have to ask yourself, well, actually, what's the advantage of being a developed country? Because they get to preserve their culture. There's a more family centric way of life. There's still a lot of hustle and bustle out here and a lot of progress. But there is something they're able to hold on to that I feel that the United States has either never had or has let go of. There are some inherent cultural values.
Mm.
It makes it special. There, you walk into a meeting And if you don't spend the first 5 to 10 minutes getting to know the people on a human level, it's considered rude, right?
Wow.
In the United States, if you don't get down to it, it's considered wasting someone's time. This was
Yeah.
probably the biggest clash I felt.
Wow. Wow. And it's true because as a corporate lady myself, right now in healthcare specifically, it's true. You go into a meeting, you just get into it. Say hello, good afternoon, and just get into it. But I like that. I like how that family vibe, the cultural value aspect of it, it's very different, which is very important. And I definitely want to talk about Mariam on how you like to say doing business differently. Like, I love that. I just wanted to say that when I heard that, when I read that, I was like, wow. So she likes to add her little pizzazz to things, but make things even better. Like, you talk about doing business differently, and I could hear a snap, snap, and just leading through value and alignment. You mentioned that you weren't there just for the money, you were there to be a contributor, to make a change, to make a difference. So, what does that look like in practice? Because I feel like a lot of people say purpose-driven business, but you actually build it, which is different. I love that.
Thank you. I think the primary difference is there are people who sit around a table and think, how do I make money? And then build a business around there. And then there are people who think, how am I going to, here's a problem, how am I going to solve it? Right? And both of those end up building businesses. And often in both scenarios, you reach spaces where it just becomes about the profitability, which again, you can't have a business unless you're profitable, right? Or else it's a charity, if we're being super honest.
Correct.
But often companies lose focus on who are you building the business for? Are you building it for yourself? Or are you building it for somebody else? And I typically build businesses that serve somebody else. And then I keep that in the focus of how do they want me to build the business? How do they want me to show up for them? What is the impact to them? Not what's the impact to me. What is the
Yeah.
impact to them? And I have an automotive manufacturing company too. And to be able to take the same philosophy to a 40-year-old company that I did not build and also say, hey, how do we bring some of this back? And let me tell you, it is possible. It takes time. I'm in year 3 of this transformation, but it starts with the people, right? And getting them all on board with what problem are we solving? Who are we solving it for? What matters to them? And it's asking the question, what matters? Why are we here and why does it matter?
So let me ask you, you mentioned something very interesting because is that what you think that we're getting wrong when we're starting new businesses? I mean, we want that growth, we want that alignment, we want that customer satisfaction, but what do you think that we're missing?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's when we start. I think you it's so challenging sometimes to build a venture, especially if what your eye gets set on is how big it's going to get and how fast, instead of how well I'm going to solve the problem and trust that when you get that fit, it will grow on its own timeline. Right. So I've seen companies and I've had companies that you start to get it right and then you go, oh, let me get venture capital money. The minute you tell yourself that, like, pose that question, you have to remember that a venture is looking for a company that within 10 years is going to 10x, and then there's the words billions and whatever. And now you're shape shifting how your whole company looks in order to fit the mold for somebody else to give you money. And you've already lost the plot, right? So
Wow.
it's critical financial stages of an organization. And you end up having to shape shift by the nature of who's giving money. So the process naturally shifts the business. It forces you to.
Mm. And I definitely want to talk about like how you helped companies expand, like you just mentioned, like building companies, like helping them pivot strategically, right? Which is a good point. And I feel like pivoting can be very scary as a business owner, right? As a stakeholder, because it can sometimes feel like a failure. Sometimes it may not. Sometimes we need it, right? In the business, in their business venture. But how do you help those organizations? I mean, or even individuals alone just reframe that pivoting aspect and that power instead of feeling lost? Because that's like big right now.
Yeah, it's asking the questions again. Why did you start the business? What is your dream for the business, right? And sometimes what you started to serve a certain market, that market no longer exists or does not behave in the same way that it did when you started, right? This happens to, I would say, older generation people, right, that are struggling to get on board or struggling to adapt. But then there's other businesses that are just stuck and not growing because the way they're doing business, not what they're producing, but the way the sales team operates, the belief systems they've told themselves about markets they can't get into because we build this. Well, but you have the skill to also build something else.
Yeah.
Why not if you have
Yeah.
access to the same market? Right. So I find that most people get there if what you're doing is adding instead of subtracting.
Mm, mm. That's a very good point. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm complete.
Oh no, I'm okay. I just wanted to make sure, but I definitely wanted to talk about that because you're talking about like the older generation, right? The forgotten ones, right? Our elders are forgotten. It's like, okay, they live their life and that's it. That's kind of like how society perceives them, at least. I mean, just speaking real here. But I want to talk about something that feels just deeply personal to you. And, you thinking about aging and thinking about that older population. I mean, what was that moment that made you realize this is not okay? Our elders are being overlooked, and how you develop Viva Valet. Did I'm saying that right? Because I love the name of it, Viva
Yeah,
Valet.
valet, and I
I
did
love it.
look at it, a long life valet, valet in the sense of the British valet of a personal
Beautiful.
butler, right? This came about. I have so much to say on aging, and I really feel like the greatest gift that I can share with people right now is, especially women, because this is going to hit women much harder than men. It is what it just is the caring for a population that is aging 20 years longer than the generation before them or the two generations before them. And we are neither informed or equipped to do this. And we are going to get hit doing this. This faces us at 40 to 65 when we are at peak career, peak entrepreneurship, like we are just peak performance. And what's going to land on our lap is a dementing parent, a silver divorce, a parent that's passed and a parent that's left living on their own, that might be living in another state or country than you are because migration in families is so rampant and we're not doing multi-generational living. And now you realize, whoa, I'm taking care of my kids, my business, and what am I supposed to do with my parent or parents?
Mm,
And you don't think about it until somebody has a stroke or a heart attack or a hospitalization or a death. It does not land in your lap because we are not trained or educated or
yeah.
informed about this at all. And it feels like being hit by a bus. It really, really does. The moment was I spent a lot of time with grandparents, and it was my stepfather's grandfather. My grandmother had passed. I went to visit him in Pennsylvania from Malaysia. I'd already been married. So my husband was maybe 4 years, 5 years younger than my grandfather, which is, interesting. But I walked into his home and I was like, I could immediately tell my grandmother was no longer there, right? I could visually see hoarding, not dusty, dirty hoarding, but just barely room to walk because things were nicely piled and stacked in the living room, which meant no guests were coming over. The bathroom was hazardous. There was half a Marie Callender's pie or meal on the kitchen that had looked like it'd been there all week. The refrigerator
Wow.
was just, and I thought, you know what?
Oh my
Here is a
gosh.
highly independent engineer who is not going to want to go in a home. I knew that about his character. And I felt it was started with guilt. I wish I lived closer. I wish I could come help him clean this every week. I wish I could send somebody to do his laundry. I wish I could do his laundry. I wish I could just make the ability for him to live in his own home possible for as long as possible, right? That's what I wanted for him. And I couldn't. So I went back to Malaysia and I thought, could I send him these services? And it was very difficult in 2008. And then I thought, could I build an app where he could just push these things on an iPad? So I sent him an iPad and taught him how to use it. Then I thought, could I just build a concierge? And he could just
Mm.
call his concierge, because while he was technologically savvy, not everybody was. So this is
Yeah.
the birth of this. And it was around COVID where I realized a lot of these services now existed, right? Delivery of everything to your door. Laundry,
Yeah.
rides, food,
Groceries, everything.
everything. And I thought, oh, maybe I could just bundle these together and build an easy to use technology. So then I spent 2 years in technology development only to realize that's what I thought older people wanted. They just want to pick up the phone and call somebody. And through this process, what the knowledge that I realized I had as I was helping tons of people in Malaysia, because my husband's now 94 and he's been diabetic for 40 years. He's not, he's never been that athletic, but knock on wood, he's solid as a rock and engages with us. And we have 14-year-old twins. And the question I get asked the most is, how is he still alive? By children of his friends who have passed, whose maybe mother is still alive. Like, what are you doing with, this man? And I sat and I thought, I am extremely purposeful in how he ages and what I do. And the primary focus is keeping his confidence high, whatever that means. So I put that into a system, and it is what informs our business, actually, right? So everybody that works at VivaValet is trained in confidence aging. Every business model within the business is based on the confidence of the people around the older adult, whether it's their children, whether it's our concierges. The higher we can keep their confidence, their psychological confidence, their knowledge of how they can stay independent, the better they are going to live. It's a tricky game, but it's not a complicated one, right?
And I
Hard
love
to
that.
grasp. It's hard to
Mm.
grasp at first, and it is a huge shift. But once you sit from this seat, it's actually extraordinarily liberating for children. Extraordinarily liberating to find out that your role is not to keep somebody alive. It is to help them live the life they want,
Mm.
even if you don't like it.
Like making their life more comfortable while they're still here. And it's very true what you mentioned, because I feel like a lot of the older population, they're lonely. They're lonely. All they want to do is so true what you said. I just realized as well, like these people just want to have somebody to talk to. That's all. They just want to be able to talk to somebody, pick up the phone. But I love this. So going back a little bit with Viva Valet, how does it work? You mentioned it a little bit how, it's a concierge service for the elders, but once they get in there, what can they expect, or how is the setup process? And this is for our listeners that may have an elder loving sibling that maybe want to get signed up or set up with it. So how does that work from beginning to end for our listeners? If you
Thank
could
you.
walk them.
It's transformed a lot. It used to go from a system where you could book services yourself. Now you get a dedicated concierge, your parents or elder loved one. And by elder, I mean we have clients that are 65 to 96. Okay. And it's really catered because it's not just services. We have customers that want to write a book because they are lonely, but they also need purpose, right? I've broken down confidence just to give you an idea of the categories of things that we do for people. So we've broken down confidences into psychological, behavioral, identity, physical, environmental, spatial, spiritual, digital, and emotional. So
Wow.
we look for things to help and suggest in each of these categories Our confidence aging specialists do an assessment, and sometimes, people just need a cleaner. Great. Our cleaners are trained in confidence aging. I don't own them, but I train every vendor that we work with, right? But it is calling the person once a week. It's saying, what are your needs? Because I will tell you, the needs of a child and the needs of the older are not the same needs.
Completely different, right? 180.
They're very different. But as soon as an adult child realizes that, you know what, my mother writing her memoir is what I actually need for her more than a grab bar in her bathroom, right? Like, I'm not going to fight her on this. Yes, she may fall. You have to make peace with the idea that your mother gets to choose how she lives. All right. Dementia withstanding, it would be like us taking advice from our 6-year-old child. That's what it feels like to an older adult who's lived 80 years. For somebody, some 55-year-old, to be like, you don't know how to live.
Oh, I bet.
Right?
I bet. Yeah.
I'll tell you, we forget that we do not know what it feels like to be 80. Now, I live with a 94-year-old man. I'm 49. I will tell you the amount of times I think that he's about to fall over because he wears a sarong, like a Asian skirt. Right? It took me until 2 years into VivaValet when he turned around and said, I've been wearing this since I was 3. And I was like, you're right. You feel confident this way, not in pajama pants. That makes me feel good. That makes you feel not confident in your physical body, right? It's more important that he feels confident in his physical body. And I just look the other way. Literally, physically, when he walks in a room, I cannot watch this man walk because my heart, and he's not fallen once.
Oh, well, that's a blessing. That's a
Because
blessing.
he just looks like he's going to fall to me. But he feels strong in how he's moving. And I have to go, you know what? I'm not going to take a next step if I don't feel secure. I have to trust what he feels like in his body, not what I perceive that to feel like. That is the shift. That is what VivaValet understands that most adult children do not.
Wow. So it's more about asking them, what is it that they need? You had mentioned something that just really resonated with me, broken down confidence. What is it that they really do need? You mentioned also, hey, do you need a step, here in your I don't know, in your tub, but then again, what would you say that, would help us just truly honor and support our elders? I mean, or our older generation, because I feel like, besides them being lonely or not being heard, I mean, what is it that we could do to be able to reach to them a little bit more?
That is a great, great question. I would never ask somebody what they need. I would ask them what they want.
Mm,
That's number
love
one.
that.
Yeah. And I look at myself, and I encourage all of us to look at ourselves as a supporting actor in every older person's life. They are the main character still, no matter how old they get. Do not bring your older mother into your home to live with you if you are not going to let her still be the main actor in her own life, right?
Well, you
It's
say that. They're set in their ways, right? I mean, how can you change them?
you should, and why would you want to? I guess you have to think, would I want somebody to change me at 85?
No, you
No,
live
I
through it.
wouldn't. I wouldn't. And what they really want, and I think I've heard you use the word lonely a lot. Yes, they are. But more than being lonely, they just want to be seen as who they are. So their identity confidence breaks down every day, right? Every time somebody looks at them and just thinks they're old, they don't think that, oh, maybe they were an astronaut or they were the lead engineer or they were a CEO. They reach a certain age and now they're just an elder. That breaks down confidence, right? We're not asking like them advice. Like my husband gets to weigh in on everything electrical, all the cars. because I keep his confidence high there. He loves to cook. I still make sure that every couple of weeks he gets down in the kitchen, and what that looks like changes, but he still gets to cook. I will share with you that keeping someone's confidence high comes from, the first thing is to make sure you're not the one eroding the confidence. And I think that is our biggest fault, is that we single-handedly, as the younger generations, are the ones eroding the confidence of our older community by continuously telling them all the things they cannot do. And they are no, right? They are no longer able to call a taxi because they have to know how to use technology and an app. We've removed that. You can't order food anymore because you're no longer allowed to call a restaurant. You have to use an app, which means you have to use a credit card, which means you have to do online banking, which means you have to remember 1,700 passwords. We have removed the ability for them to behave in a traditional way that they're entitled to. They now have to pay $200 to pick up the phone and call somebody who will do these things for them.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true.
Before they could just open the yellow pages and look for a HVAC plumber and they could see somebody's big ad. They now have to get on Google and Yelp and look at reviews and then leave a message or go to TaskRabbit to get. And if they do the traditional way, guess what? It's 70 or 80% more expensive because they have to advertise in a traditional way and they have to hire phone people, and that's expensive.
Oh my gosh.
Cheaper. We don't think about these things. And those are the things that are making them feel that they can't live alone and take care of themselves. But they can. Us younger people, entrepreneurs, are removing step by step the ability for them to do that. Isn't that wild?
That is crazy.
It's crazy. And in doing so, we're putting the burden right on our shoulders because they're going to call us and be like, fix my phone. I can't find my banking. I can't do this. Of course you can't, because I built a $10 billion company that you don't know how to use.
And you know what? I like how you made me think, making our listeners think. It's not about asking them what they need. It's about what they want. Keeping that confidence high. I think we're missing that. A lot of us are missing that in our generation, taking care of our parents now. And it's so funny because I'll be talking to my mother-in-law, my mom, and it's kind of like sometimes we'll sit here, well, maybe I'll change her mind. No, you can't change an older person's mind. They've been here for like 70 something years. They're going to be set in their own ways. I wouldn't want nobody to change my mind at that age, like you mentioned. But just so funny.
Not only will you not, I'm going to tell you something you're not going to want to hear. You ready?
Tell me.
By the time you are your mother's age, you will be thinking exactly like her because she's thinking that way based on a life lived, not because she's just old.
Look at that.
Because she's figuring out things that we do not know yet. My grandmother, I sat at a table with my Iranian grandmother one day, and she was being made fun of by my dad, which was not kind, about something she couldn't do or see. She couldn't do or see. And he was just laughing, right? And it was, it was all in good fun. And she just looked at him and said, laugh it up. But I will not become you. You will become me. And sure enough, I've spent the last 2 months with my demented father, and she was not demented. Which is dementia, I will say now, is one of the hardest journeys as a caregiver to ever go through and watch. But I just sent last night my 80-year-old father that has dementia, who got stuck in my home in Malaysia because of the bombing of Iran. He couldn't go back. I had to send him on a flight to Turkmenistan to cross the border. I was terrified. But he was dying in my home. He needed to be in a country where he could speak his language. And he's a world traveler. And I had to find a person to travel with him. And I know I can't reach him because the phones don't work. So imagine how scary that is for me. No control. To send my father, who I know at the end of the day forgets what the beginning of the day was like, to go live by himself, which he has no business doing. But that is his choice and that is his desire. And he still knows how to bathe and eat and find food and have hunger and groom and wear a suit. It's terrifying, but he gets to live his life.
Yeah, the way he
How
wants.
uncomfortable that makes me.
Yeah.
I had to get myself as comfortable as I could to find somebody from here from the embassy to take him all the way to Tehran, and I had to make peace with it. But he gets to live his life, however short
Mm,
that may be, because of this. He gets to live it. I know that if I put him in a home, he will no longer be the person that he actually is. I will have killed that person,
pretty
and
much.
I will have killed that person. So he might
Yeah.
as well live the best he can like this. My advice to anybody building a business that really wants to make an impact in their own parent's life and really change the way they think is to ask themselves, does my 80-year-old grandmother or mother or do they have access to my business?
Mm,
Is this a product they would want? And if it is, because it may not be, have I excluded their ability to access it?
some very good important questions to ask for sure.
And I would ask you, please interview somebody that
Mm,
has a business. Look for somebody who's 70 or 80 or even 90. And I'm very curious, and I'm sure your listeners would be too, about how their mindset has changed from when they were our age and what they wish they knew and what they know now that there would be screaming at the rooftop if anybody was listening.
Definitely a lot of things to definitely put in perspective for sure. Miriam, I want to definitely transition here and talk about your legacy and the impact that you're doing. You're giving us a lot of insights. I mean, definitely making me think about my parents that are aging, looking at things a little bit differently. But I mean, overall, you, Miriam, I mean, you built, you scaled, advised, you invested. I mean, but you've done so many great things. I mean, what would you want your legacy to be?
Wow, that's such a great question. I think I just want my legacy to be that those people who have interacted with me felt it, felt it and remembered it.
Mm,
I
that's
don't have
beautiful.
so much of an ego where I need a company or a statue. If I could help entrepreneurs, or I'm very women focused, so if I could help women that are building businesses take that next step, whatever that business is. And the charities that I focus on, or the impact work that I focus on, is typically single mothers. The investments that I do are almost exclusively in women, and in impact investing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the work they do is making an impact. It means where I come along in the investment journey is very impactful, just to be very clear, because I know that's not the definition, but that's
We get it though. It's
yeah.
you
Uh,
though. Mm.
that's what I love to do the most. Is I do believe that I'm very privileged and I'm very blessed, and I just I'm blessed more with perspective than anything else. And I don't feel money is to be hoarded. I don't feel privilege is to be hoarded. I believe it's to be shared, and as long as you're sharing it, there will always be more.
I love that. That's a very good legacy. And I wanted to ask that to you because of your experience with our elders. And I was just curious, like, what would your legacy be? So I appreciate that. And let me ask you, what is next for Viva Valet? What is next? I mean, what should be we need to pay attention for? Because it sounds like you guys are just getting better and stronger and forever evolving. What can we expect for you and Viva Valet?
Listen, I want to be very realistic. Viva Valet is a very hard journey. It is a hard journey because when our customer base was just older adults, you can't sell a service to an older adult who doesn't feel like they need help and they feel like that's all the world is telling them to do. Okay, so it has not been an easy customer journey finding. I'm going to be very frank and transparent to all the
Yeah.
people who build business and think it's easy. We are still figuring it out. We are still figuring it out. And what we've learned is we've made a huge impact to the service providers in the community. We've made a lot of businesses better at serving older adults. And the beauty is when you do, you have retention for life. So that there is a part that we do now that's actually just consulting businesses on um, their older segment and their older business market, because it's very valuable and people are not tapping into this economy. So there is a business to business consulting and advisory that has spun out of VivaValet that has become very impactful. There's also, I do one-on-one consulting for actual just older adults, because more than selling a service to their parent, I feel that shifting their mindset creates a greater impact in the older adult's life to not have this
Yeah.
pressure coming from their children. So that is definitely something I want to grow and explore, to see how can I scale more people with the knowledge and training that I have, so that they can change the mindset in 1 to 2 hour sessions with an older adult, with a adult child, that will
Yeah.
shift that relationship with the older people in their life. So that for me is very exciting on the horizon.
That sounds very exciting. It sounds like I like how you're transparent too, and you know how, hey, it's been hard, but you know what? It's still going to be thriving. It sounds like it's definitely making an impact for those, and we're just excited to continue to follow your journey. Where can our listeners find you? I mean, follow your work and tap a little bit more information on Viva Ballet.
I'm Where's Mariam at? Mariam Gets Older on socials, and happy to pass that over to you. And then VivaValet.com, and that will have links. It's VivaValet.com.
Oh, Miriam, thank you so much for sharing for our listeners. And as we transition here for a closure, I always like to leave my guests with something special, like something they could just carry with them in their heart. Like, if they could take away anything from our conversation today, what would that little thing be? Like, if they're feeling stuck, if they have an elder parent, if they're unsure of their next move, what would that be?
I would say, well, I would just like to leave them with just really, really one thought, right? Which I know that most people are building businesses out here. And this concept we talked about earlier, that time is money, but actually, people with money would give all of it to have more time. So make the phone calls, spend the time. You have the time right now, which is what's valuable, but everyone's chasing money. I will tell you, from everybody who has the money, who doesn't have more time, the money means nothing without time. So be very careful how you balance with relationships and balance with yourself, right? You've seen it. People try to earn more and more and more, and all they're waiting for is the 2 weeks of a year they have a vacation to spend all that money to try to live a serene life. Chase the serene life. Figure out your business that matches the life you want to live. This is how I'm trying to raise my children, is to say, architect your life, find the work that complements that life, not the other way around. Don't chase money and career to then try to figure out what is the life I want. You're waiting too long. We're all waiting too long to do that.
And the whole reality is to Miriam, and that's life is too short. It really is.
It's a
It
blink,
really is.
it's a blink of an eye. So thank you for doing what you do.
Of course. And that's why we're here having great conversations like this. And I want to take the opportunity and thank you as well for getting out there and for making this overlooked population have more of a magnifying glass for us to realize all these things that we've learned today with just a simple conversation. I just want to thank you so much for choosing my platform. I feel like this conversation is a reminder that just like impact doesn't always come from doing more. Sometimes it comes from just seeing what others have ignored and just choosing to care, right? I feel like that's the biggest takeaway for me. So I want to thank you so much, Mariam, for sharing that.
You are most welcome. And I hope that everybody talks to every older person that they see. Any older person that gets out, you see them. You don't need to help them, walk alongside of them and remind them, every time we see somebody really, really old out in town, remind yourself that you're actually being inspired, because that could be you. And every time I see somebody really old or older doing incredible things, I stop them and I say, thank you for being out. Thank you for doing these things. It reminds me that I have so much life left in me, right? Like, it's really powerful. And it's also not so easy for them either.
Oh, I bet. And thank you so much for that, Mariam. And to my listener, let's not forget exactly what just Mariam said. let's not forget about the generations who made this space right now, this podcast, for us to even be here. I
Yes.
mean, think about those things. We wouldn't be here because of them. If this episode touched you, moved you, or made you think a little bit deeper, I know I'm thinking a little bit deeper. Share it with a friend, a loved one, a sibling, whoever you are. I guarantee you it's going to definitely make a difference. And as always, to my wonderful listeners, thank you so much for being here, for growing with me, and of course, for trusting this space. Thank you, Mariam. Con mucho amor. This is Conversations with Iris. Thank you all.